Welcome to the Jim Acosta Show, where it's another day that ends in Y and Donald Trump's cover up of Epstein Gate, but the files may be on their way to being released. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he won't block a vote to release the files and that there will be a floor vote on the bipartisan bill to do just that. Meanwhile, one of Epstein's victims, the late Virginia Giuffre, her memoir, Nobody's Girl, hit bookshelves today, I should say. Here to talk about that is Tara Palmeri, who writes the Red Letters Substack. Tara, great to see you. And you've been following this diligently. You've been working on the Epstein scandal for so long. And Virginia mentions you in this book, in this memoir, Nobody's Girl. And you write about this in your Red Letter Substack column. Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl, hit bookshelves today. And the early passengers are already shaking the world. I'm beyond thrilled that she's finally having the impact she's always deserved. Once dismissed as a teen prostitute and a liar, now recognized as the warrior she always was. But my heart drops knowing that this moment had come in her death. I saw that fire in her up close. We traveled across the country together, knocking on the doors of people who had worked for Jeffrey Epstein. It took enormous courage to face them, to relive her trauma, not to blame, but to find meaning. She wanted to hear someone say, "Yes, Virginia, I remember you. I see you now." Tara, let's talk about this. And I mean, you play a role in her journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, only a part of it. Her
Yeah.
life story is incredible. It's a really eloquent story, and it's incredibly sad story, horrific what she went through. But starting at a very young age, she writes that she was abused by her own father. She was trafficked by 11, living on the street, homeless, trying to clean up her life. And that's when Ghislaine Maxwell spotted her at Mar-a-Lago and recruited her. But yeah, towards the end of the book, she writes about the journey that we took together. This was in the chapter called Unbroken. The name of our podcast was Broken, Jeffrey Epstein. And it was, about trying to put together the pieces of her life. And she said that she really loved the team, and the power. I can tell you, let me pull up what she said. She said she was impressed by the team's firepower, and she liked that I didn't give two shakes about Epstein, only the women he'd hurt. And in fact, if you see the cover art for Broken, we actually put an X over Epstein's face because I was like, I don't really care about this guy. There's like a fetish over this person, the wealth porn, the spy porn, the porn of it all. And I was like, what about all the girls, the 1,000 women whose lives he's ruined? And so we went and retraced the steps of her life in a lot of ways through trying to find these people who could corroborate the abuse that she experienced. Because for so long, she was just dismissed for decades. And she wrote about the journey and the places that we went. And there was, we tried to speak to the chef, Adam Perry Lang, who's now a celebrity chef, who had a restaurant on West Hollywood that we went to deliver a note to him. And, he was on Oprah, and he was Jimmy Kimmel's best friend. And he has this book about how to barbecue. And he says that he learned how to barbecue on a wealthy client's ranch. Oro Ranch in New Mexico. He's all over the flight logs. And she writes, of course, I hope that he might have information that could help me hold Epstein's co-conspirators accountable, but also on a purely emotional level, I just wanted to hear Lang confirm my experience. He could have said something as simple as, I saw what happened to you because I was there, and that would have helped me heal. Would I have been thrilled if he handed over incontrovertible evidence of wrongdoing? Sure. But I wasn't really expecting that. Mostly what I wanted was validation. Clearly, though, I wasn't going to get that from Lang. And basically every door was slammed in our face. The phone calls were just hang-ups. And at one point, this woman who she was trafficked to as well yelled at her and told her that she was the reason that Jeffrey Epstein died, and then killed himself. And then we went to the house man of Jeffrey Epstein who let us in, and watching that was really difficult, their reunion. But yeah, I mean, I'm just a small piece of her story. Her story, it's about her, and it's a story of resilience, but also I think it's really important to read it for everyone to understand how someone could end up in Jeffrey Epstein's world and trafficked. And then people say, well, why didn't you go to the police? And it's like, this is a person who never had anyone protect her in her life, in her entire life. And from birth, really, she was abandoned. She was nobody's girl.
Yeah.
Well, the
But
men that
that is why she was preyed upon. I mean,
yes, exactly.
because of what she went through in her childhood, the fact that she
Mhm.
was a broken person coming out of her childhood. And Tara, she names people in the book, it sounds. I mean, I was just reading
Yeah.
something NBC reporting that, Giuffre said that, Prince Andrew had acted as though, quote, "having sex with her was, quote, his birthright." That
Yeah.
was her way of putting this. And so, can you talk about that? That I think, this is still having shockwaves over in the UK right now.
I mean, Prince Andrew had to give up his titles.
Give up his titles. Yeah.
He's no longer the Duke of York. I'm sure she would have been so pleased to see that, but it's sad that the justice is coming after her death.
Yeah.
And there's so many conspiracies about her death. I mean, she died because she lived with the demons of being trafficked, the trauma that she experienced, the PTSD. It's really profound. And so, um, so for Virginia, yeah, this is a story of survival and fighting for justice. And it's she does name names. She doesn't name all the names. There were probably 3 dozen men, but nobody saw her as someone worth protecting, not one.
Yeah.
And that's what's so heartbreaking about all of this. It wasn't in a vacuum. It was out in the open. And you like even when you
Right.
see the picture of her, there's one picture in the book where she's standing next to Naomi Campbell and some other man who's clearly an older man, and you just are like, she just looks so young. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see it here. She just looks like so young. She looks like
She looks
a
like
little girl.
a girl. I know that
What
that's
is
the
she doing
heartbreaking thing
there?
about. And Tara, I think you just hit part of one of the reasons why they were preyed upon in the way that they were is that they had access to Jeffrey Epstein's world
Right.
of being around celebrities and very wealthy people and the rich and
Mhm.
famous and so on. And that was part of the lure. That was part of the hook that pulled these innocent young girls in to some
Yeah,
extent.
I
Yeah.
think I think I don't know so much of it being the celebrities and the travel as much for Virginia. I
Mm,
think it was the promise of teaching her a skill that could provide her security and change her life to become
yeah.
a traveling masseuse, which I think something that she really wanted to do. And she was studying a book about how to do that when Ghislaine Maxwell found her at Mar-a-Lago. Um, but, it's amazing because she actually kind of writes about Epstein in, like, a tender way and explains how she actually really loved him.
Wow.
This was her idea of love. Um, Ghislaine Maxwell sometimes treated her as a motherly figure, and that was something for her. I mean, if you read in the book, her mother whipped her uh, with thorns from I guess knowing that her husband was abusing her, and
Mm.
just lived in such a she just was going through one cycle of abuse after another that it was hard for her to find anyone to hold on to
They
be
almost
her life.
became paternal in a way. I mean,
Yeah, it was like a messed up family. At one point, they wanted her to
wow.
have their child. That's when she realized she had to get out because she was worried that the child that she was gonna give birth to would be sexually assaulted by them, and that's when she escaped. She had to
Oh my
escape to
god.
She escaped to Australia to be far away from them to feel safe. And it's just it's harrowing. Her story is harrowing. There is no other word to describe it.
And what is your sense of, this book is gonna be a blockbuster hit. Does it help bring justice in any way to the situation that we're in the middle of right now? I mean, I can see a scenario where Ghislaine Maxwell gets pardoned anyway,
Yeah,
even
I don't know.
even with this coming out,
Trump doesn't President Trump doesn't care about the stories of women. I mean,
Yeah.
the ethos is women are liars, men are not rapists. Men are not rapists, these women are liars because they have to blame the women or else they can't be victims. And because that is his role as the ultimate victim.
Yeah.
And, I spoke to this woman who was a sex crimes prosecutor for many years in New York. Her name is Deborah Turkheimer. She's got a book called Credible. she explained that there is a credibility deficit that women, particularly vulnerable women have when they tell their story. And there's a credibility inflation that very powerful men have. And that's why society tends to side with the men. And when that happens, it re-victimizes the women in a big way, because it's almost, she said, worse than the abuse the first time around, because of the rejection they feel from society, of not being heard, and seeing the person who committed this crime still being celebrated. And so that's something that Virginia has had to live with for her whole life. Yeah.
And how much does the book get into, trying to figure out how to say this in the right way, but what led to her taking her own life? Was there one single thing? Was it multiple factors? Were there multiple factors? I mean, do we know why she did this? I mean, she was fighting so hard, and
Yeah.
she was doing so much, like with you. I mean, to try to put the pieces of this together, to try to get justice.
I think
I
sometimes some demons are just too big to live with.
They're just
And
too much. Yeah.
I spoke to her a few months before she killed herself, and I remember on the phone with her. She was living alone she had an aide, but for her health, because her health was really bad. They say in these books that trauma keeps the score. I mean, she was a 40-year-old woman. She probably had the body of an 80-year-old with her kidney failure, her broken sternum, this and that. She was just falling apart. And I remember saying to her, like, Virginia, you have to go to New York. You have to come, like, you have to go see your family in Colorado. Like, you need to get help. She wasn't doing well. She wasn't doing well when we were reporting, frankly. Like, at one time I just called them towards the team, and I was like, I don't think we can do this anymore. She wanted to keep going. Like, she really wanted to, but it was too emotionally exhausting for her. It was emotionally exhausting for me. I couldn't take it at some
Yeah.
point. I was like, this is darkness. This is a really dark story. And I think,
Yeah.
like, I really get angry when people talk about the conspiracy theories around her death, because her brother found her and tried to save her. She was not healthy. She lived a very, 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 very difficult life trying to get over the memories of the abuse she went through. And I could see it in her face. I saw it in her body, like her reaction to things. It's hard. She had an
Yeah.
emotional support animal. She just had, it's the trauma from being abused that young, like, actually changes the brain. And I think
Right.
there needs to be more compassion for people that go through this sort of abuse, and to understand, like, why do they suffer for so long? And I think being isolated from her children was really hard. Her estranged husband, the abuse from him, it was just a lot. So,
And do you think, because you and I haven't spoken about this in a while, do you think that if and when the Epstein files are released, and it sounds as though it's moving in that direction. I mean, when the government shutdown ends, they're saying they're going to swear in Alita Grava. That'll be 218 votes. That'll compel the release of the Epstein files, theoretically speaking, I guess, if the Senate goes along with it, and so on and so forth. I mean, I guess Donald Trump could stand in the way and say, we're not going to do this at the Justice Department. I mean, I don't know. Those are some unanswered questions, I suppose. But do you think we will get some answers out of the release of those files that we don't have at this point, based on your reporting, based on what you know? Or is that
yeah.
just too big of an open-ended question? I mean, it seems like we're learning new stuff when stuff is released. We are learning new things.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
Jim, this is huge.
it's huge. Okay.
This is just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much under there. I mean, even just the fact that she doesn't name the billionaires that she was forced to have sex with, like, they're all in her depositions. There's more in her depositions. They're just redacted. Now, if they release the Epstein files and they're entirely redacted, then you won't see much more. But if they release the files and they're not redacted the way they are, then you will see the truth.
And did it shock you when I don't think we talked about, did it shock you when the birthday book was released and there was the Trump letter in there?
Not really,
Yeah.
because this was the culture around Jeffrey Epstein. Like, this was the way that
Exactly.
people acted around him. I remember his 40th birthday, and like the song that they sang at it was about his schoolgirl crushes and his 24-hour erections. They sang this like as a, you know, and it was in front of all these powerful men. And I'm just like, ew, this is just
Yeah.
normal. They normalized him. He was normalized. There was nothing depraved.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't really that surprised. I was surprised by the reaction from the White House, frankly. I was like, really? They're gonna deny this and continue to?
And that did not make any sense to me. Their theory was that somebody plagiarized this or forged his name or whatever it is, and then they slipped it into this book 20 years ago or something like. I mean, I don't know how.
Foreseeing that Trump would be president when he was a Republican
Yeah,
president, when he was then a Democrat.
right.
It's
None of
like
this made that didn't make any sense to me.
the lizards did it
The
for sure.
lizards did it, the lizard people.
Yeah,
And
they did
and
it.
will this book be too hard for people to read, or do you think that there's something for people to take away from Virginia's story that is, I want to say, I want to say inspiring, but maybe inspiring is not the right word, but admirable about the courage and the strength that she showed towards the end of her life. I mean, what will people take away from this? Do you think?
I think people will understand sex trafficking better. I think
Mm,
they'll understand the impact of childhood sexual abuse. I think they'll see a human face on a story that has for so often, like I said, been focused on the porn elements of it. The
yeah,
wealth porn, the bankers, this, the high flying lifestyle, the friendships with dictators and um, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these men that he was friends with, and they'll actually see what it was like to be a woman, to be a survivor of this abuse, the other side of the story that no one ever cares about. And so that's what I think people will see from this book. And I think there'll be some humanity. I mean, for once, Virginia was always treated so poorly, especially by the press. They called her like, all these names, a teen prostitute, a liar. I think when you read her book, you'll
horrible.
feel real sympathy for her and you'll see what it was like. And I think it'll paint a picture of how this happens and hopefully how it can never happen again. That was what she would have wanted, honestly, for this
Yeah,
to live on. The written word. What is one of the first? Sorry, I just wanted to read this, and I think you'll appreciate it,
yeah.
Jim, as a writer yourself, because I know
I'm an
writing.
okay one. Yeah,
Yeah, writing bears your soul. So I appreciated this. Hold on,
yeah.
let me grab it. Where is it? Sorry.
That's okay.
Uh,
And folks, while Tara's finding this, she reached. I'm just going to tell everybody the genesis of this segment. Tara reached out to me and said, "The book is coming out. We need to do this." And I immediately said yes because I felt as though this story had kind of faded a little bit. We need to get it back in the public's face. But go ahead if you've got it. Go ahead.
Okay, this is by Dan Millman, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Life is not a private affair. A story and its lessons are only made useful if shared.
Mm,
And this is not an easy book to share, to tell this story. But
yeah,
she writes about that too, about how hard it was to keep telling her story over and over and over again. But finally, after he was arrested, the world was like receptive to her. And so she felt a moral obligation to keep telling her story over and over and over again. And it hurt her. She was re-traumatized every time she told it. She wrote that. It makes me feel bad, but she wanted it out there. But it was such a double-edged sword too, even working with her as a journalist, because you're just like, I felt like I had to stop. So
yeah,
to protect her in a lot of ways, because it's like there's only so much that she could handle. As you could see, you've been there, I'm sure, in interviews where you're like, you can
yeah,
see that retelling the story is almost traumatizing the person.
yeah,
And this has happened to me, not just in this story. I've interviewed parents who've lost their kids. You've done the same thing. It's
yeah.
just um and they're
You're
and
there to guide them in telling that
yeah,
story as best as you can, but at the same time, you have to understand this is hard. This hurts.
this is
You know,
pain. Yeah,
this is
exactly.
painful. Yeah, it's
And
reliving pain.
yeah, and so I thought that that was a really beautiful quote because um it reminds me of why she created Victims Refuse Silence. She
Yeah,
believed that by speaking openly about taboo subjects like sex trafficking, that she could stop it from happening. And she's right. I mean,
Yeah.
these crimes live in the dark because they're taboo. Even the incest. I mean, I always had a feeling there was some incest angle with her, because she said she was that her father would, like, her father's friend would molest her, which turns
Oh,
out true as
God.
well. But I always had a feeling she had an estranged, relationship with her father. She never talked to her father. I was so mad when she died that when her father came out and said she was killed, I'm like, how would you know? You haven't spoken to her in years.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and I just had this feeling. I was like, there was something there. And I'm really proud of her for telling that, because again, that's another really taboo subject. People
Yeah.
don't talk about it. And she's just broken so many barriers and walls, and her impact has been profound. And it's sad that she's not alive to see it. Like, it's incredibly depressing that
Yeah.
this is something that she's had to wait. I mean, it didn't happen soon enough for her. It will, and there's
Yeah.
more. I mean, there's way more than is in this book.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, to me, the sad reality that she's not here hopefully adds weight to the urgency that is needed right now to release these files, for the truth to come out, for there to be justice, for the surviving victims in this. There are still plenty of survivors, like the ones we saw up on Capitol Hill the other day, who are still fighting for this. Tara, really appreciate you coming on. Tara's
course.
also the host of the Tara Palmeri Show, the Red Letter Substack. Make sure you subscribe to Tara's Substack to make sure you can follow all of the turns and all of this, twists and turns and all of this. And obviously Tara does a great job on her show as well, her YouTube show and Substack show, laying out all of this reporting as well. So Tara, always great to talk to you. Thanks for
Thank you,
doing this.
Jim.
And
And
thanks for reaching out and flagging this. I was like, yes, oh my gosh, we have to do this.
yeah, and I appreciate your dedication to the story too. It means a lot
Yeah,
to me to see that.
we got to do it. I mean, the truth has to come out. No question about
Yeah.
it. Thanks, Tara. Good to see you.
Bye.
Really appreciate it. All right. And we'll see what happens. I mean, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, says he's not going to block the vote. And for damn good reason. One being that there are Republicans who want to vote for this. And so as soon as they get to 218 votes, which is when Adelita Grijalva is sworn in, she was elected a month ago, folks, in Arizona. She still hasn't been sworn in. One of the many outrages in Washington these days, but it seems as though it's happening slowly. My thanks to all of you for watching. Still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a good evening. I'll see you next time.